career planning portals. So we have Dr. Professor RSS Mani here. So this session is over to you, sir. Please take up.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much, Gokul, for that very generous introduction. It's always nice to get into forums like this because inevitably people say a lot of good things about you. But having listened to so many stalwarts before me, it's been a wonderful learning experience right from afternoon till now. We are in awe always of Dr. Abdul Kalam, and we have had the fortunate experience that in the ITM group of institutions, along with the Kalam Foundation, we've been involved in several projects, particularly in the field of education and trying to reach out education to the masses and to rural India. That's where we work with Dawood, we work with the entire team of Kalam Foundation, and thank you so much for having me over this evening. I'm going to look at perhaps what was a key point made by Dr. Vishwanathan, and that is how do we really look at increasing the scope of employability of students who come in for higher education. I think this is a major responsibility of the educational institution. As Dr. Sultan was rightly saying, school education today has really in India blossomed, and we hope and pray that it becomes much better and better. But my greater concern is institutions of higher education, even today, perhaps are continuing to teach in the school mode. That is, we will continue to give you the textbooks, you learn the subjects, you write the exams. And I'm sorry to say, sometimes at the end of the whole course on higher education, be it engineering, be it management, be it design, be it paramedical sciences, I have to face the flak of industry professionals who tell me, you know, you guys have got a degree, but they haven't learned anything. And this is a big problem we are all facing. I think even the teachers who are in the institutions of higher education, though extremely highly qualified, masters of their subject, I sometimes feel that their ability to translate theory into practice, their ability to build a bridge between academia and industry is often lacking. In fact, in the ITM group, we always promote a very, very interesting concept, and that is just like students can do internships in companies, we encourage our faculty to do internships in companies. The only reason for this is it's always easy to say, here is a sales report, but has anybody really gone in depth and found out how a sales report is actually made? Or how can you make all kinds of tricks in the sales report to make it look very attractive? So here is where I'm saying the practical knowledge is something that we need to focus our energies upon. The second dimension to this whole worry about employability, of course, I know today people are talking first about life, then they're talking about livelihood, and now they're talking about, do you have a job at all? And that's where employment comes in. But these are COVID times, and I'm sure they will pass. But the question that we need to ask is, how do I build a robust system where I am producing corporate-ready citizens? And as they rightly say, it can't be done by only one set of stakeholders. The faculty, the students, the institutional heads have to take responsibility. I'm also worried about students, and many of us who are here in this webinar who are very senior professionals, both from industry and academia, will agree with me. The student of today perhaps feels that the moment he has joined a professional course and paid a high amount of fees, his job is done. He doesn't want to spend his energy and efforts in adding value to himself or herself. And I think this is the biggest tragedy of our system. The moment a student is trying to get admission into a management school like ours, his first question is, what has been the top salary in your campus? No one actually is asking me what kind of faculty you have. Do you have collaborations with some good universities? What kind of internships do I get? The inevitable question is, what is the salary which was highest in your campus? So the student here perhaps doesn't come with a larger vision that he is here to build his career. Career planning as an activity is just about restricted to How do I get the highest paying job on campus? I know sometimes even students don't mind jumping specializations just because a company is giving a higher salary. And here is where the real problem begins. It's like saying you have a person who's interested in finance who's asked to sell credit cards, and both parties ultimately get frustrated in the process. So, what I'm trying to suggest is we need a robust system where the student has to be told from day one that you have got into the institute, welcome, but there's no guarantee you will get out of the institute unless you add value to yourself. This, if we are able to enforce, I think will tremendously add value to the process, tremendously add quality. As is rightly said, we have all perhaps an equal amount of talent. But the question is, do I have an opportunity to develop this talent? This is what Abdul Kalam sir used to always say, that India will be that kind of a proud country where every Indian has an equal opportunity to develop his talent, whether he's in urban India, rural India, whether he's highly privileged or underprivileged. The last dimension which I want to highlight upon very much so is that in today's changing world, post COVID, everyone has to go through a process of reskilling, be it student, be it faculty. And I'm sure so many of us have already experienced, notwithstanding whatever the constraints might be, the entire teaching in many institutions of higher education has gone into the digital mode. So someone rightly said that stay safe and stay blessed. But one more thing they added on these days is stay digital, because that is here to stay. As rightly said by Professor Sultan Ahmed too, it's not going to be easy to run the traditional classes the way they used to be before. If one reads the UGC reports and the AICT recommendations, we are talking about having social distancing in classrooms. In my classrooms, if I had 60 students, I'm perhaps going to be allowed only 30 students. That means I need double the number of classrooms, which also perhaps means I need to work in two shifts because space is the biggest uh, unavailable commodity in this country. And if I have to run two shifts, I think I'm almost going to become like a factory which works in two shifts. I need more faculty. Where do I get them from? As it is in India, as most of us know, and I feel so miserable because I've been in teaching for 35 years now by choice, teaching is still considered the last choice profession. Or teaching is considered that profession where you say, let me retire from my corporate career and then I will get into an institution of higher education. No offense to anybody who is a senior practicing professional, but the times we wanted you in the peak of your career, we have perhaps never been able to get that corporate executive. And at the stage when the corporate executive has retired, he would like to come and offer his services. I see a huge disconnect in this whole process. So where I'm coming from is we need to go digital. The teachers have to now realize that they are no more the custodians of information. Information is freely available all across the globe. It is converting this information into useful knowledge. It is converting this knowledge into practical application, which could be appreciated and accepted in industry. That is going to make the difference between a value adding teacher and a student who is ultimately going to add value when he joins an organization. I think all of us in higher education should actually have this commitment that we should help transition our students from campus to corporate in as smooth a manner as possible. I'm told that there are some students attending this webinar. I just have two, three small little suggestions for you. One, in the current scenario, it might just happen that many of you might feel that in search of an elusive admission that you are waiting for, because of all the delays in the entrance exams and so on, you might think of taking a drop for this year. My humble suggestion to you is please don't take a drop. A discontinuity in education could go against you in plenty. And remember, if March 2020 was so bad, God knows what will happen in March 2021. No one can predict the future. Therefore, my suggestion is even if you do not get into the best institution that you dreamed of, get into any good institution which is offering a similar course and try to make that institution the best institution. After all, what is an institution's reputation governed by? The quality of faculty, the quality of the alumni, and of course, needless to say, the quality of the students. The second important thing that I want to suggest to many of you is please develop your soft skills. It is important to be technically sound. It is important to know your fundamentals of business. But ultimately, when you get down to the corporate world, you have to learn to work in teams. You have to learn to be able to support each other. You need to develop philosophies like win-win. You need to be able to cope with stress. This is broadly what are called soft skills. In fact, I personally feel we should be called hard skills because they're very hard to acquire and they're equally hard to practice. So students, I guess while you're at home during the lockdown, and depending on which state you are, it's going to extend for a couple of days more, a couple of weeks more. There's going to be slow lifting of lockdown. Please use all the time that you have to develop these soft skills so that you develop your overall personality in this process. Use this little opportunity that you have because of unfortunate circumstances to ensure that you're adding value to yourself. Become a great corporate citizen of the corporate world and that of this country. Last but not the least, I'd like to end with a favorite quote, which I've always heard Dr. Abdul Kalam quote, that please remember, you should confirm that you have become successful when your signature becomes an autograph. And I hope many of you reach this level of success as you progress in your careers. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you all colleagues on this panel. There's been so much of learning today while listening to all of us. At this point in time, considering that my time is up for now, I'm signing off, but I'll be happy to take any questions at any given point in time. Thank you very much.